Hey guys, in this video I'm going to quickly show you a very simple technique for painting wood. Right? It's not going to take too long at all, and the first colour we're going to need is Steel Legion Drab, or used to be Graveyard Earth, I think. Now the model I'm using today is this Undead Talon Desert Raider that I've been working on for my my Undead 40k list. So first step, I'm just going to paint the wooden stock with the Steel Legion Drab. Make sure it's in focus, there we go. So just this part here. Make sure I get the back of it here. And then there's a little bit around this side as well, which I'm going to have to be extra careful. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of different skeletons and different uniforms, and I thought Talon, I always quite like Talon Desert Raiders, so I've done a couple of these guys. I've also done a Armageddon Steel Legion Trooper. I haven't done any Valhalla yet, I probably should. And the Praetorians, they're the two that I really haven't done, like of the main sort of group, or the main like uniforms. I mean, there's obviously the things like the Elysian Drop Troopers that, you know, I haven't done those, but they're going to be a little bit harder because their parts are harder to come by. The stock kind of comes up. Just round here as well. Alright, so there's that, pretty simple. I'm just going to let that dry for a sec. Right, the next stage we're going to use Karak stone, and you're going to want a pretty thin brush to do this bit, because we're now going to start painting the wood grain onto the models. Right, so although I do have some new brushes on order, I'm currently using what counts as my fine detail brush. In actual fact, it's a layer brush that has lost most of its bristles, but nevertheless it does roughly the same thing. So I haven't got too much paint on my brush at all. Right, and I'm going to start, make sure it's in focus, I'm going to start with doing like a knot. Right, so I'm just going to put an oval in the middle. Right, then we can kind of paint around it and come back. Yeah. So again, kind of starting above, I'm going to paint around it and come back. Now, because I've got so little paint on my brush and the light is right next to me, it's kind of dried out a little bit, so let's add a little bit of water. Make the bristles wet. And try again. So it's better, up and round. So we kind of painted a bit of an eye. Now, you've got to think about how the wood grain will sort of wrap round a three-dimensional object. Make sure they're still wet. So from the top, right, see if I can make sure I've got it in. Right, I'm going to start round here and curl round and hit the camera with the back of the brush. Right, so if you can see this, just about. I've not done a straight line because as the grain would hit the sort of the edge of the stock, the grain would then wrap round the side. Better shot there. So again, like here, right, it would come round like this. Let's see, if I do it underneath, it might give you a better view of what I mean. So we're going to paint kind of like a semicircle up and then down. just like that. And then the back of the stock, we can kind of make these lines straight across. There's my bristles have dried out again. So I don't normally advise painting with a 60-watt bulb right next to you, but so like that. So you might not want to put sort of a knot in every kind of stock you do, but I thought just for the sake of the video might be worth doing. And then here I'm just going to kind of edge highlight a little bit. This top part of the wood is so small that you're really not going to see it. So, but I will do a couple of lines across like that. Then just like that. All right. So, and then this bit's going to be tricky because I can't really get the bristles in there. So it's not going to look pretty this side. Right. Okay, it's not so bad. Let's close that up. Wash that out. And now, sort of moving straight into the next stage, I'm going to use Screaming Skull. Just have to check that it was the right. I have such a habit of calling them by their old names. So let's break open the bleach bone. Make sure those bristles are wet. Right, now I'm just going to pick out a few of these lines in the lighter sort of ivory colour. And I'll go as long as the paint is in the bristles. So if it kind of sort of runs out halfway through the line, that's ideal really. If you left yourself a bit of a gap, you might want to paint other sort of lines in between the Karak stone. There you go. Might just try to put a little bit more work in the knot. And then I'll throw a couple of lines this side. All right, there we go. All right. Close that off. Now you might want to stay there, you know, stop at this point if you're happy with that. But typically, especially because these models, I'm trying to make them a little bit sort of dirty and whatnot because they're dead. Apart from the headscarf there that I've got as pristine white at the moment, I'm going to quickly throw a wash of Agrax over the stock just to kind of blur it all together. So I'm not going to use my ludicrously fine detail brush. That's definitely a fine detail brush. So, there we go. Right. So that's it. It's pretty straightforward. Not much to it. You do need quite a thin brush and a steady hand, but you know, practice on some larger pieces of wood. I know the backs of shields, perhaps things like that, and then you know, eventually you get the hang of it. If you've got a thin enough brush, it will do most of the work for you. So that is how I paint wood. Hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, drop me a like, subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out. I will leave a link in the description of this video to the blog for these undead skellies. I'm going to run them as gene stealer cultists because they, I think the rule where they reinforce themselves, like or something like that, it will work really well for these guys because it'll be like they're getting back up from the dead. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.